Panic erupts in the Galactic Council, reaches its dramatic apex when rogue draconian warships advance toward Earth, defying Council protocol. In a stunning display of technological prowess, Earth activates its planetary shield and dispatches strike craft that disable, not destroy, the alien fleet. This shocking demonstration of both human capability and moral restraint forever alters the balance of galactic power, setting the stage for the Proxima Collective's game-changing revelation. The vast council hall of Valoris Prime gleamed under artificial starlight, its transparent dome revealing the nebula-streaked heavens above. Thousands of delegates from hundreds of worlds filled the tiered seating, arranged in concentric circles, their murmurs creating a background hum that reverberated through the chamber. At the center, on an elevated platform of polished obsidian, the 7 founding species representatives sat in ornate chairs befitting their status. High Chancellor Vex Morta, the eldest of the Valorans, leaned forward in his seat. His 4 eyes, too large and too small, narrowed as he studied the holographic projection hovering before the assembly. Though he had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations across his 8th-century lifespan, nothing had prepared him for the message displayed in stark, blue letters. "We decline to negotiate. We'll chart our own course." The communiqué from Earth was brief to the point of insult. No elaborate diplomatic phrasing, no customary acknowledgments of the Council's 10,000-year history, not even a formal signature from their planetary leadership. Just refusal. "Play it again," Vex Morta commanded, his multi-layered voice cutting through the growing clamor of the hall. The Council's chief technician, a spindly quarian with translucent skin revealing the nervous electrical pulses coursing through her neural pathways, tapped the controls. The message reappeared, rotating slowly for all to see. "We decline to negotiate. We'll chart our own course." Admiral Porath of the Draconian Fleet slammed his scaled fist against the table. "Insolence! No species has ever—" "That is precisely why we must approach this with caution," interrupted Ambassador Alt of the Etherians, his body a shifting cloud of luminous particles. "This is unprecedented." Vex Morta raised a hand, silencing both. The humans were contacted as per Protocol 7A upon detection of their first interstellar vessel. They were offered the standard terms of Council integration, technological exchange, protection, and representation. Their refusal is— He paused, searching for the right word. "Irregular." "Irregular," Admiral Porath spat the word. "It's rebellion before submission. We cannot allow—" "The Council has existed for millennia through diplomacy," Ambassador Alt countered, his form pulsating with agitation. "Not through force." The Grand Hall erupted into shouting. Representatives from the Draconian sectors demanded immediate military response. The Etherians and their allies called for patience and understanding. The Quarian delegates ran probability simulations on their neural interfaces, while the silicon-based Petrans remained unnervingly still, their crystalline forms refracting the chamber's light. Vex Morta watched the chaos unfold with growing concern. In 10,000 years, no emerging civilization had ever refused Council integration. There were benefits, of course, protection from cosmic threats, access to the galactic economy, healthcare innovations that extended lifespans exponentially. But there were also sacrifices, adherence to Council law, contribution of resources, and acceptance of established technological development paths. "High Chancellor," a voice cut through the din. It belonged to Mira Tal, chief historian of the Valoran archives. "This situation has precedent." The chamber fell silent. "The Proxima Collective," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Admiral Porath's scales darkened, a draconian sign of dread. Even the Etherian ambassador's form contracted slightly. "The archives of the Proxima incident were sealed by Council decree," Vex Morta stated, his voice stern. "Yes, High Chancellor, but as knowledge custodian, I maintain access for historical continuity." Mira replied, unintimidated. The Proxima's refusal led to their exodus. They disappeared beyond the outer rim. Some say they still exist, watching us. Admiral Porath growled. A children's tale to frighten younglings. Nevertheless, Vex Morta interjected, we cannot afford another Proxima scenario. The Council's legitimacy rests on universal acceptance. He turned to the technician. What else have we intercepted from Earth? The Quarian's fingers danced across her console. Human communications are difficult, High Chancellor. They use thousands of languages and encryption methods vary wildly. Our systems are translating as quickly as possible. A junior Etherian aide floated forward. High Chancellor, John Carter awaits your instruction. Vex Morta nodded gravely. John Carter, their human-raised agent, educated on Valoris Prime since infancy. The Council's best hope for bringing Earth into the fold. Prepare him for immediate departure, Vex Morta ordered. He will serve as our envoy. The humans must be made to understand that integration is not optional. It is inevitable for the greater harmony of the galaxy. As the Council dissolved into renewed debate, none noticed the small, unmarked probe detaching from Valoris Prime's orbital dock, accelerating toward Earth at speeds that defied conventional Council metrics. Beneath the towering peaks of the Rocky Mountains, 3 miles below the surface, Earth's command center hummed with activity. Unlike the grand transparency of the Council Hall, this facility was a testament to humanity's recent past, built during the Resource Wars as a last resort command post, now repurposed as the nerve center for humanity's first interstellar standoff. President Eliza Harris stood before a circular holographic display, studying the Council's movements with narrowed eyes. At 62, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had navigated Earth through its most tumultuous decades: climate stabilization, the fusion breakthrough, and the Mars settlement crisis. They're panicking, observed General William Monroe, his weathered face illuminated by the display's blue glow. Just as we predicted. Panic can lead to rash decisions. President Harris replied, Are our defensive systems ready? Alan Wright, Director of Earth Intelligence, stepped forward. His rimless glasses reflected the holographic projections as he swiped through various data streams. Our quantum interceptors have decoded approximately 60% of their transmissions. They're sending an envoy, someone named John Carter. The human they took? General Monroe asked. The same. Raised on their capital world. Educated in their traditions. They believe he'll understand us. Wright's lips curved into a subtle smile. A miscalculation on their part. President Harris turned to the fourth person in the room, a disheveled man in his 30s, his rumpled clothes contrasting sharply with the crisp uniforms around him. Dr. Harris, your assessment of the shield? Sam Harris, no relation to the president despite sharing a surname, ran a hand through his unkempt hair. 40% deployed. The nanosatellites are self-replicating as designed, harvesting lunar materials to expand the network. Another 72 hours for complete coverage. Will it hold against their weaponry? General Monroe asked. Their energy signatures suggest directed plasma technology. Our quantum deflection should disperse it effectively, Dr. Harris replied, his fingers tapping nervously against his tablet. But that's theoretical. We've never faced alien weapons before. President Harris nodded solemnly. Let's hope theory becomes practice only if absolutely necessary. She turned back to the holographic display. Where are our response craft? General Monroe brought up a new projection. Sleek vessels hidden in Earth's orbit, disguised as research stations and debris collection platforms. Strike Group Alpha is stationed behind Luna. Bravo and Charlie are in low Earth orbit, camouflaged. Response time to any incursion: 3 minutes maximum. And our diplomatic channels? The president asked. Alan Wright adjusted his glasses. All operational. We're monitoring every frequency they use. If they attempt any communication beyond official channels, we'll know. President Harris studied the faces of her crisis team. The Council believes we should be grateful for their offer, that we should surrender our sovereignty for their protection and guidance. They expect us to follow the same path every other species has walked. Except the Proxima. Wright noted. Our interceptors caught mention of them during the Council session. They seem to be the only other civilization that refused integration. And what happened to them? Asked General Monroe. Wright shook his head. Unknown. The records were referenced as sealed, but there was genuine fear when they were mentioned. President Harris walked slowly around the holographic display. Humanity has survived because we've always adapted, found our own solutions. We've overcome environmental collapse, resource depletion, and social upheaval not by following established paths, but by innovation. We will not surrender that independence now. Peace through deterrence, General Monroe said, nodding in agreement. Exactly, President Harris confirmed. We demonstrate capability but exercise restraint. We show them that humans cannot be coerced, but we are open to true partnership among equals. The room fell silent as a new alert flashed across the display. Incoming transmission, Wright announced. The Council envoy has entered our solar system. On the outer edge of Earth's solar system. John Carter watched his vessel's displays as the blue-green planet grew larger. Though he had been raised from infancy on Valoris Prime, educated in the ways of the Galactic Council, something stirred within him at the sight of humanity's homeworld. His ship, a sleek diplomatic vessel designed to impress emerging civilizations, decelerated as it approached Mars' orbit. The Council had equipped him with everything necessary to convince Earth's leaders. Historical archives showing the benefits of integration, technological offerings as incentives, and, should those fail, subtle reminders of the Council's overwhelming military capabilities. Vessel FDC-7. This is Earth Orbital Command. A voice crackled through his communication system. State your purpose. Carter leaned forward. This was unexpected. Most emerging civilizations were overwhelmed by Council technology, not maintaining orbital defense systems capable of long-range communication. Earth Orbital Command. This is John Carter, diplomatic envoy of the Galactic Council, he responded, his accent perfect despite having never lived among his own kind. I come with an offer of integration and advancement for humanity. A pause. Then, Envoy Carter, proceed to coordinates being transmitted to your vessel. Deviate, and you will be intercepted. The coordinates appeared on his navigation system, not Earth's surface, as he had anticipated, but a space station in high orbit. Acknowledged, he replied, adjusting his course. As he approached, Carter was surprised again. The station, designated Harmony, according to his sensors, was far more advanced than expected for a civilization that had achieved interstellar travel only recently. Its modular design suggested adaptability, with sections that could be reconfigured or replaced as technology evolved. A distinctly human approach, he realized, different from the monolithic architecture favored by the Council. His ship docked with a smooth precision that spoke of advanced automation. As the airlock cycled, Carter straightened his Council envoy uniform, a midnight blue tunic embroidered with the 7-star insignia of the founding species. The doors slid open to reveal 3 humans waiting for him. 2 wore what appeared to be military uniforms, sleek, functional, with subtle insignia of rank. The third, a woman with silver-streaked dark hair, wore civilian clothes that nonetheless conveyed authority. Envoy Carter, she greeted him. I am Director Sophia Chen, Earth Diplomatic Corps. Welcome to Harmony Station. Carter inclined his head in the formal Council greeting. Director Chen, I bring greetings from High Chancellor Vex Morta and the Galactic Council. Follow me, she said, turning without ceremony. As they walked through the station's corridors, Carter noted the efficiency of the design. Unlike Council architecture, which emphasized grandeur and tradition, everything here served a purpose. The few decorative elements, Paintings of Earth landscapes, sculptures representing human achievement, were carefully placed to inspire without impeding function. They entered a conference room with a view of Earth below. The planet's swirling clouds and blue oceans stirred something primal in Carter, a connection to a home he had never known. "Before we begin," Director Chen said as they seated themselves, "I must inform you that Earth has conditions for these discussions." Carter blinked in surprise. "Conditions? The Council's integration offer is standardized across—" "We are not standard, Envoy Carter," she interrupted. "Humanity will engage in diplomatic relations under the following terms: neutral venue for all negotiations, disarmament of Council battleships to minimum operational capacity when within lunar orbit, and oversight access to weapon systems during diplomatic engagements." Carter stared at her, momentarily speechless. No emerging civilization had ever dictated terms to the Council. It was unheard of. "Director Chen," he began carefully, "the Council has existed for 10,000 years. Its protocols have integrated hundreds of species successfully. These conditions are unprecedented." "So is humanity's response to your offer," she replied, without hesitation. "We are aware that your Council expected gratitude and submission. Instead, you find a civilization that values its independence." Carter studied her face, searching for signs of fear or uncertainty. He found none. "The Council possesses technology far beyond Earth's development," he said, choosing his words carefully. "Military capabilities that could overwhelm your defenses." Director Chen smiled slightly. "Are you threatening us, Envoy Carter?" "I am stating reality," he replied. "The Council has never failed to integrate an emerging civilization." "Except the Proxima," she said. Carter felt a chill run through him. How did they know about the Proxima? That information was sealed even from most Council members. "The Proxima situation was different," he said carefully. "Was it?" Director Chen leaned forward. "They declined integration. They valued their independence, just as we do." Carter's training had prepared him for many scenarios: gratitude, awe, even fear. But not this calm defiance backed by unexpected knowledge. "I will convey your conditions to the Council," he said finally. "But I must warn you that they are unlikely to be accepted." "Then we have nothing more to discuss," Director Chen replied, rising from her seat. "Harmony Station will remain available for continued dialogue should the Council reconsider its position." As Carter was escorted back to his ship, his mind raced. The humans were not behaving according to any predicted model. They were not awed by Council technology, not intimidated by Council power. Something was fundamentally different about them. Back in his vessel, preparing for departure, Carter composed his report to Valoris Prime. The humans, he wrote, were not to be strong-armed. Their refusal was not born of ignorance but of principle. And most concerning of all, they somehow knew of the Proxima, knowledge that should have been impossible for them to obtain. As his ship accelerated away from Earth, Carter found himself questioning, for the first time, the inevitability of Council integration. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had stretched into its third day. Holographic displays around the chamber showed Earth's orbital defenses, more extensive than initial scans had suggested, and the mysteriously advanced Harmony Station where Carter had been received. "This is intolerable," Admiral Porath thundered, his scales flushed with anger. "They dare to set conditions for us? The Council has stood for 10 millennia. We have guided hundreds of species to prosperity and peace." "Yet they refuse our guidance," Ambassador Alt observed, his luminous form pulsing thoughtfully. "Perhaps we should consider why." High Chancellor Vex Morta studied the report from John Carter. The envoy's assessment was troubling. The humans were not merely resistant, they were organized, prepared, and somehow informed about matters they should know nothing about. "The conditions they set are designed to neutralize our advantage," Vex Morta noted. "They wish to ensure we cannot coerce them through superior firepower." "Which is precisely what we should do," Admiral Porath insisted. A single battle group would demonstrate our resolve. They would capitulate within days. Ambassador Ult's form darkened. Violence against an emerging species would violate our oldest principles. We offer guidance, not conquest. They already know of the Proxima, Vex Morta said quietly, silencing the chamber. Somehow, they have accessed sealed information. Impossible, whispered Miratal, the historian. Those records are quantum-locked in the deepest archives. Nevertheless, they mentioned the Proxima specifically. Vex Morta replied. This suggests either an information breach of unprecedented scale or... Or what? Admiral Porath demanded. Vex Morta's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep disturbance among Valorans. Or contact. The chamber erupted again. The mere suggestion that the legendary Proxima Collective, which had vanished beyond the Outer Rim 6,000 years ago, might have contacted Earth, was enough to send ripples of panic through the assembly. We need more information, Ambassador Ult insisted. We cannot make decisions based on speculation. I agree, Vex Morta said. We will dispatch observation probes to monitor Earth's activities while we deliberate. Admiral Porath rose from his seat, his massive form towering over the other representatives. With respect, High Chancellor, the time for observation has passed. We must act decisively. I propose a show of force, not an attack, but a demonstration of Council authority. What exactly are you suggesting, Admiral? Vex Morta asked, his tone cautious. A battle group, positioned just beyond their lunar orbit, outside their stated boundary, but close enough to make our capabilities clear. They will reconsider their position when faced with the reality of Council power. Ambassador Ult's form wavered in agitation. This is dangerously provocative. If the humans have indeed had contact with the Proxima, they may have capabilities we cannot anticipate. The Proxima are a myth, Admiral Porath growled. A bogeyman story used to frighten Council initiates. Even if they existed, they fled rather than facing Council might. Nevertheless, Vex Morta interjected, I cannot authorize military action, even demonstrative, without full Council consensus. The vote will... Forgive me, High Chancellor, Admiral Porath interrupted. But while we debate, the humans consolidate their position. Every hour strengthens their defenses. The Draconian fleet stands ready to remind them of cosmic realities. Vex Morta's eyes narrowed. You forget yourself, Admiral. The Council does not act on the initiative of a single species. Of course, High Chancellor, Admiral Porath replied, lowering his head in a gesture of deference that did not reach his reptilian eyes. I merely emphasize the urgency of our situation. As the session adjourned for deliberation, none noticed the Admiral's subtle gesture to his aide, a signal that would set in motion events beyond the Council's control. On Earth, the command center beneath the Rockies had shifted to high alert. Alan Wright stood before President Harris and General Monroe, his expression grave. We've detected movement from the Draconian fleet, he reported. A battle group has detached from Valoris Prime's orbital dock and is accelerating toward our solar system. President Harris frowned. How many vessels? 7 capital ships. Approximately 20 support craft, Wright replied. Significantly more than would be required for diplomatic escort. Time to arrival? General Monroe asked. At their current velocity, which exceeds anything we've observed from Council ships before, approximately 18 hours. President Harris turned to Dr. Sam Harris. Status of the shield? 76% coverage, he reported. The nanosatellites are replicating at maximum efficiency, but we're still short of full protection. And our strike craft? General Monroe brought up a tactical display. All units at ready status. We've repositioned Charlie Group to provide coverage for the shield's incomplete sectors. President Harris studied the projections, her expression resolute. This is happening sooner than we anticipated. Are we certain this is Council-sanctioned? Wright adjusted his glasses. That's the interesting part. Our quantum interceptors have picked up communications, suggesting this may be a draconian initiative, not formally approved by the full council. A faction acting independently? General Monroe asked. That contradicts everything we know about council governance. Perhaps the council isn't as unified as they want us to believe, President Harris mused. Inform Harmony Station to prepare for possible contact, and send a message to John Carter. Tell him his council should be aware that Earth distinguishes between sanctioned diplomatic approaches and unauthorized aggression. As the command team dispersed to their stations, President Harris remained alone before the holographic display. The approaching draconian fleet appeared as red markers against the black backdrop of space, steadily closing the distance to Earth. "So it begins," she murmured, "not with diplomacy, but with threats." On Harmony Station, diplomats and military personnel from a dozen Earth nations monitored the approaching draconian fleet. John Carter, who had returned at Earth's unexpected summons, stood beside Director Chen, watching the tactical displays with growing concern. "This is not council-authorized," he insisted. "High Chancellor Vex Morta would never approve military action without exhausting diplomatic channels first." "Yet here they come," Director Chen replied coolly. 7 warships against an emerging civilization. Is this the Council's idea of guidance? Carter shook his head. This is Admiral Porath acting unilaterally. The Draconians have always favored direct action over diplomacy. How convenient that the Council can disavow responsibility when its military arm misbehaves, she observed. You don't understand, Carter pressed. This violates fundamental Council principles. There will be consequences for Porath when the High Chancellor learns of this. If there's still an Earth to debate over, Director Chen replied. Before Carter could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the station. A communications officer called out, Draconian fleet has crossed lunar orbit. They're accelerating toward Earth. The display showed the red markers of the Draconian vessels surging forward, their formation spreading to encircle the planet. They're positioning for a standard intimidation display, Carter explained, recognizing the pattern. It's designed to demonstrate overwhelming force without actually firing. We consider any military vessels entering Earth orbit as a hostile act, Director Chen stated flatly. They were warned. Carter turned to her in alarm. You can't possibly... Watch, she said simply. On the display, something remarkable began to happen. All around Earth, previously invisible points of light winked into existence, thousands of them, forming a lattice pattern that quickly grew more complex. The shield, Director Chen explained. Dr. Harris's creation. As the shield materialized, another alert sounded. From hidden positions around Earth and its moon, dozens of small craft appeared, accelerating toward the Draconian fleet with impossible speed. Strike Groups Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie, Director Chen continued, designed specifically to counter Council technology. Carter watched in disbelief as the human vessels, far smaller than the massive Draconian warships, executed a series of maneuvers that should have been beyond their technological capability. They did not engage directly, but instead released swarms of even smaller objects that attached themselves to the Draconian ships' hulls. What are those? Carter asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Quantum disruptors, Director Chen replied. They interfere with the energy signatures your ships use for propulsion and weapon systems. On the display, the Draconian vessels began to slow, their formation breaking apart as systems failed. Emergency lights flashed across their hulls, the Council equivalent of a distress signal. You've disabled them, Carter realized, without destroying them. We could have destroyed them, Director Chen corrected him. We chose not to. Unlike your Draconians, we don't believe in unnecessary violence. Carter stared at the display, trying to process what he was seeing. An emerging civilization had just neutralized 7 Draconian warships, the pride of the Council fleet, without firing a single destructive shot. It was unprecedented. It was impossible. How? He finally managed to ask. Director Chen gave him a measured look. Humanity has faced extinction-level threats throughout our history. We've adapted. We've survived. Did your council really believe we would submit to external control after fighting so hard for our own survival? Before Carter could respond, another alarm sounded, different from the others. The station's lights dimmed momentarily, then brightened again. "Energy surge detected," called out one of the officers. "Massive quantum displacement in Sector 7. The main display shifted to show a new phenomenon, a swirling vortex of light forming in space, approximately halfway between Earth and the disabled Draconian fleet. "What is that?" Director Chen demanded. "Is it Council technology?" Carter shook his head, as confused as she was. "Nothing in our arsenal creates that effect." The vortex expanded, stabilized, and then, impossibly, a ship emerged. Unlike the angular, imposing designs of Council vessels or the sleek, functional human craft, this ship was organic in appearance, its surface rippling with colors that seemed to shift between states of matter. Scanning unknown vessel," reported a technician. "Sir, its energy signature is like nothing we've ever seen. It's operating on principles that defy our understanding of physics." A new voice spoke, gentle yet commanding, seemingly emanating from the air itself rather than through communication systems. "People of Earth, Council representatives, I am Arya, emissary of the Proxima Collective." The station fell silent. On the display, the mysterious ship hung motionless between Earth and the disabled Draconian fleet, its surface continuing to ripple with impossible colors. "The Proxima are real," Carter whispered, his worldview shattering around him. "We have watched your exchange with interest," Arya's voice continued. "It mirrors our own experience 6,000 years ago, when we too declined Council integration. We chose freedom over submission, innovation over stagnation. For this, we were branded rebels and forced to flee beyond the Outer Rim." A holographic image formed in the center of Harmony Station's command deck, a humanoid figure composed of swirling light, neither male nor female, its features suggesting a merger of biological and energy-based existence. "We have evolved beyond the Council's understanding," the figure, Arya, explained. "We have developed technologies based on harmony with universal forces, rather than domination of them. We have created a society where diversity is strength, not a challenge to be managed." Director Chen stepped forward. "Why contact us now?" The hologram smiled. "Because you have demonstrated the same spirit that defines the Proxima. You value your independence. You defend without destroying. You innovate rather than imitate. These are the qualities that the Council has suppressed in hundreds of civilizations, the qualities that we cherish." Carter found his voice. "The Council believed the Proxima were destroyed or scattered beyond recovery. All records were sealed. History written by the victors is rarely accurate," Arya replied. "We did not scatter. We evolved. We did not flee in defeat. We chose a different path. And now, we offer Earth an alliance of equals. Not integration, not submission, but partnership between independent peoples." On Valoris Prime, the Council chamber had erupted into chaos. The holographic feed from the Draconian flagship showed the impossible. Their most powerful warships rendered impotent by an emerging civilization, and the mythical Proxima Collective revealing itself after 6 millennia of absence. "This cannot be happening," Admiral Porath growled, his scales pale with shock. "The humans could not have developed such technology independently." "Perhaps they didn't need to," Ambassador Ult observed, his luminous form pulsating with excitement rather than fear. "Perhaps they took a different approach entirely." High Chancellor Vex Morta sat motionless, his 4 eyes fixed on the image of Arya, the Proxima emissary whose existence challenged everything the Council had believed for thousands of years. High Chancellor, Miratal urged. The sealed archives. We must access them immediately. If the Proxima truly survived, evolved, then everything we thought we knew about technological development, about governance itself, must be reconsidered. Vex Morta nodded slowly. Unseal the archives. All of them. The Council must face its history if it is to have a future. As the historian hurried away, Vex Morta turned to the Assembly. Admiral Porath, you have violated Council protocol by deploying military forces without authorization. You will be confined pending investigation. The Draconian scales darkened with rage, but Council security personnel, a mix of species trained specifically for such situations, surrounded him before he could protest. As for the rest of the Council, Vex Morta continued, we face an unprecedented situation. The humans have demonstrated capabilities far beyond what we anticipated. The Proxima, whom many believe to be merely legend, have returned. And our most fundamental policies are now in question. Ambassador Alt floated forward. High Chancellor, perhaps this is the opportunity the Council has needed. For millennia, we have followed the same path. Integration, standardization, control. We believed it was for the greater good. But what if there are other paths? What if diversity of approach strengthens rather than weakens the galactic community? Murmurs rippled through the chamber, some of agreement, others of outrage at the suggestion. The Council has maintained peace for 10,000 years. One representative objected. Has it? Ambassador Alt challenged. Or has it merely maintained the appearance of peace through suppression of alternatives? How many innovations have been lost because they did not conform to Council standards? How many civilizations have surrendered their unique perspectives to join our collective? Vex Morta raised his hand for silence. These are questions we must consider carefully. For now, we will establish communication with both Earth and the Proxima representative. We will retrieve our disabled vessels, and we will begin the process of re-examining our fundamental principles. As the Council session adjourned, Vex Morta remained alone in the chamber, gazing at the holographic image of Earth, the small blue planet that had somehow catalyzed the greatest crisis in Council history. And perhaps, he thought, its greatest opportunity for growth. 2 weeks later, representatives from Earth, the Proxima Collective, and a reformed Council delegation convened on Harmony Station. The circular conference chamber, hastily reconfigured to accommodate the diverse needs of all three parties, hummed with anticipation. President Harris led the Earth delegation, accompanied by General Monroe, Alan Wright, and Dr. Sam Harris. The Council was represented by High Chancellor Vex Morta, Ambassador Alt, and a noticeably subdued group of advisors, Admiral Porath conspicuously absent. And for the Proxima, Arya's physical form made its first appearance, a being of swirling light contained within a vaguely humanoid shell, accompanied by two similar entities. Welcome to the first Trilateral Conference, President Harris began. Today marks the beginning of a new approach to galactic relations, one based on mutual respect rather than integration, on diversity rather than uniformity. High Chancellor Vex Morta inclined his head. The Council acknowledges its miscalculation regarding Earth. Recent revelations have compelled us to reconsider policies that have remained unchanged for millennia. Change is the only constant in the universe, Arya observed, her voice resonating in a way that suggested it was being perceived rather than heard. The Proxima embraced this truth when we departed Council space. We are pleased that the Council now begins to recognize it as well. The discussions that followed were unlike any diplomatic exchange in recorded history. Earth shared its unique approach to technological development, born from crisis response rather than gradual evolution. The Proxima revealed aspects of their energy-based technology that defied conventional understanding. And the Council, for the first time in its existence, listened more than it lectured. By the conference's end, A framework for a new type of relationship had been established. Not the Council's traditional integration model, but a cooperative alliance that preserved the independence of each civilization while establishing channels for exchange and mutual defense. As the delegates prepared to depart, John Carter approached President Harris. Having chosen to remain with the human delegation rather than return to Valoris Prime, he had served as a valuable advisor throughout the negotiations. "Madam President," he said, "there's something you should know. Before the conference began, I dispatched a secure payload to Earth's moon. It contains everything I know about Council technology, governance, and history, including information that isn't in the public archives." President Harris raised an eyebrow. "That was a significant risk, Mr. Carter." He nodded. "I've made my choice. Earth is my home, even if I've never lived here before. And humanity's path, forging its own way, rather than following established patterns, feels right in a way that Council doctrine never did." "Well," the President replied with a small smile, "we can always use someone with your unique perspective, especially now that the galaxy just got a lot more complicated." On Valoris Prime, High Chancellor Vex Morta stood before the newly opened Hall of Reflection, a public space where the previously sealed archives of the Proxima incident were now available to all Council citizens. The hall was crowded with representatives from hundreds of worlds, many seeing the true history of the Council for the first time. "For 10,000 years," Vex Morta addressed the assembly, "the Council has guided civilization through a single vision of progress. We believed our path was the only path. We were wrong." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The humans' refusal to integrate, and the return of the Proxima, has shown us that diversity of approach strengthens rather than weakens us. Innovation thrives when different perspectives are valued, not suppressed. True harmony comes not from uniformity, but from respectful difference. He gestured to the holographic displays, showing the new cooperative framework agreed upon at the Trilateral Conference. "Today marks the beginning of the Council's transformation. We will no longer require integration, but will instead offer alliance. We will no longer dictate technological development paths, but will facilitate exchange of ideas. We will no longer suppress alternatives, but will embrace them as opportunities for growth." As Vex Morta concluded his address, he reflected on how a simple human refusal, "We decline to negotiate," had catalyzed the most profound change in Council history. In their stubbornness, in their insistence on charting their own course, the humans had inadvertently guided the Council toward a better future. And somewhere beyond the outer rim, ancient Proxima observation posts registered a shift in the cosmic balance, a small but significant movement toward a more diverse, more resilient galaxy. Humanity's bold no had reshaped interstellar politics. A new age had begun,